So we've written a few styles here. We've styled our main paragraph and subheader in the last lesson. In this lesson, we'll be looking at the footer. We'll be seeing how we can float things to the left and right. So we have a document name here and we have the page number here. And we want to use the font size for the footer. Okay, so if we go into our HTML, we can see in body we have footer up here, we have footer down here, but we need to target the last footer in the body. Okay, so that's where we need to start. If we come back here, we can say body, we say find the last child of body. Okay, and we can do what we've done a few times now, draw a border around the last child, and this will allow us to see if we actually targeted it correctly. And there we go, that's fine. So let's look into floating this and this left and right. Okay, so if we come back into our document, first if we go into our index, we can see that we have two divs here. Okay, we need a way of targeting both of these divs separately. But first, let's go into our documentation and let's find out more about div elements. Okay, if we click on that and we go in here, we can see there's a bit of a warning here. It says authors are strongly encouraged to view the div element as an element of last resort. And on the other hand, div elements can be useful for stylistic purposes. Okay, so it's basically telling us not to use divs too much, because div doesn't have a very strong value. I mean, we know what a body is, a header is, but div doesn't mean anything. It's a generic container. So we'll be using div for styling things to the left and right. Okay, only that. So if you click here, hold your command key down and click here, it allows you to edit two things at the same time. So I could type div id open and close. If you're on Windows, you can use control. So I need to give these two divs unique IDs, and I don't want to repeat these IDs on this page. So I'll call this report name and I'll call this page number. So IDs have to be unique on the page. We can't reuse them. So now that we've done this, we could go into our style and we could target those IDs. So we target IDs by typing in the hashtag, and then we say report and we'll put the name of the ID. So now I can say float left. So this report name would always stay to the left of our document. And over here I can target the other ID, the page number. Okay, and I could float our page number to the right. Okay, so it will always be on the right side of our document. So once we've done this, we could go into our browser and we can reset our browser, and we can see it's floated things left and right. But you can notice our footer has collapsed. So our divs are no longer within the footer. So we can now, what we need to do is clear the float. Every time we float things, we have to clear them. So I'll say find the last child, which is the footer, and I'll say after the last child, there's a few things we need to do. We need to set the content to nothing, and we need to say display block, and then we need to say clear float or clear both. So this is what we need to write every single time that we float things. We say to the container of the thing we're floating, in this case footer, okay, after footer, clear both. Okay, so if we go back into our browser and we reset, we can see everything is back within our footer. So it's looking good. Another thing we need to do here is set the font size. So I could set the font size to 12 pixels because the footer is a bit too bold at the moment. So that's fine. So it's working perfectly. Okay, so I think our footer is pretty much wrapped up. We could get rid of the border. We don't need that anymore. We could save. We could have a look and see what we have. Okay, so in our next lesson, we'll be looking at central aligning our document. We've learned a few things here. We've learned how to clear float every single time we float things. And we do that by going into it. We've learned how to assign ID numbers to divs and the fact that we shouldn't use div too much. In the next lesson, we'll look at center aligning our document so that everything is in the middle of our page. And I think that's where we can leave this lesson. If I come back in here, so I will see you in the next lesson.